Good morning, Faith Family. It's Thursday. I pray your week is going well, and more importantly, that as we've gone through this theme of committed to pray, that it's been more than that, than just a theme. It's been something you find incorporated into your daily lifestyle, because when we commit to pray, when we commit to pray for the opportunities to share the gospel, when we commit to pray for the places of influence that we go into every day, whether it's our vocation, our school situation, whatever that may be, when we begin to pray that God would use us, guess what? He opens doors, He provides opportunities, and that's exactly where Paul is focused. It's interesting when we look at Ephesians 6:19 and we put it together with 20, which Brother Aaron will discuss that in detail tomorrow. But when we put it together with 20, we see Paul giving us a glimpse into what's going on in verse 20, saying, for that reason, I'm an ambassador in chains. And so we know he's imprisoned right now, maybe not in a harsh prison setting, but still yet, he says he's in chains. And so that's the reason why it's fascinating that when he requests prayer in verse 19, he says this, pray also for me that the message may be given to me when I open my mouth and make known with boldness the mystery of the gospel. And so we see that the focus of his request is not to be resolved of the conditions that he's in. It's not to be freed from the bondage of chains. He didn't even ask that. What he said was that I might be given boldness. And Paul, through his experience and through his faith and trust in God, he'd come to understand that whatever circumstance he was in, whatever the situation that he would find himself in, it was always directed by God for his purpose. And of course, that purpose will inevitably get us to the gospel. And so Paul says, pray also for me, after asking the church to pray for one another and all the saints. He says, pray also for me that the message may be given to me. And so he understands that, yes, the gospel has a core element to it. The gospel has those core principles to it of sin in the heart of man and salvation by Christ alone through his death and his resurrection, and then surrendering our life to that. But he also understood that different situations would have guided him to present that in different ways that would have been pertinent to that context. And so he says, pray that when I open my mouth, I'll have boldness, because he knows that what he says and who he's saying it to could inevitably cost him his life. He's appealed to Caesar, and that's kind of the direction we're going. That's the journey he's on right now, is to get to Rome. And yet all along the way, he's had opportunity to speak to various dignitaries. In one case, it was King Agrippa. In other situations, it's been other types of governors and things of that nature. And in every single instance, he gives his testimony, but he also directs that toward the gospel of declaring who Jesus is. And so Paul says, I'm not worried about my situation. I'm not worried about my circumstances, because they're going to continue to change and evolve as God wills it to be. What I would really like for you to focus on as you pray for me is for boldness, that I can proclaim the gospel boldly. What would it look like if we as individuals, as believers, begin praying for one another daily, that we would each have boldness to proclaim the gospel? Well, I think we know exactly what it would look like. It would look like Acts. It would look like the book of Acts, where although the apostles are the focus, you can be certain that the word of God is going out through his people, through the members of the church. The gospel is being shared through the lives of the believers. And so I think we need to be recaptured by that. That's why I said I pray that this week's focus has been more than just a theme for you, that it's been a lifestyle adjustment. It's been a lifestyle application, that you pray daily first that you would be bold, that you would be given the message to be shared when it needs to be shared to the ones that God is prepared to receive it. That secondly, that you would pray for me and for your other fellow believers and other members of our faith family, that we would be given boldness, and that we would be given eyes to see where opportunities might be, and ears to hear, that we would be sensitive to where the Spirit's working, and as Blackaby says, join him there. Because I'm telling you, friends, we could see a radical transformation of our faith family, a radical transformation of our community, a radical transformation of this whole country, if we as believers would always not simply just be committed to prayer, but be committed to gospel-centered prayer. Prayer that says, Lord, you tear down the walls. Lord, you open up the doors. Lord, you provide the opportunities, and then give me the boldness that I might walk through that. And that we would pray that for one another every day. And if we would do that, along with that commitment to live sent, we'd see a major spiritual awakening in this nation. And that's what I long to see. Love you, Faith family. Look forward to worshiping with you. Until then, remember, let's sing.